Hi everyone and welcome. Today we'll talk about one-to-many relations and specifically unidirectional. We'll have demonstrations of Cascade types. We'll do a constructor based dependency injection by replacing the auto-wired annotation. We'll handle the delete operation. We can understand how the path variable annotation is used. We can also talk about orphan removal. Let us use a transactional annotation along with it. Now let us model the entities. We have t underscore user and t underscore roles, which are the two tables that we are having. ID, name and description. And now you have a one-to-many unidirectional relation which is shown like this. So one role to many users. And this is how the entities are modeled. Now let us look at the table structure. A mapping table will be created with t underscore users underscore id and a t role underscore id. This is how a unidirectional relation is modeled. Now let us talk about the role entity and the user entity. Since it is a unidirectional one-to-many relation, we will be declaring a list of users in the role entity, whereas the user entity will not have any declaration. We can get the list of users belonging to a particular role from the role entity. Now let us look at the role entity definition. At entity, public class role, the private long ID, we have the at ID annotation followed by at generated value, where generation type is of identity, private string name and private string description. Now coming to the major one, here we'll define a private list of user called users with an annotation one-to-many, where the target entity will be the user dot class. So this is how we'll define the role. Now let us look at the user entity. Here again the entity at entity annotation and the table name is t underscore user, id, first name, last name, mobile, and the string email. With at column we are telling unique is equal to true, where email is a unique constraint we are giving. Now the code to create a new role, I am creating a new method called add role, which takes in role of type role. Now I create a new role of name new role dot set name, role dot get name, new role dot set description, role dot get description, and here we are setting the user by calling role dot get users, and finally we are saving it role repository dot save new role. The save method will return a role which I am calling it a saved role. Now I am just checking if it is present. I am returning successfully created role and users. Else I am returning failed to create specified role. On the CRUD operations, we are talking of the delete method. Here I am in the role service. I am defining a new method, delete role, which takes in long ID, and I am using the role repository dot find by ID. It's a method that comes along with it. If the ID is present, I am going to delete the particular record from the table. I am again cross-checking it. If it is present, I am returning fail to delete the specified record, else the record is successfully deleted. First of all, I am checking whether it is present or not. If it is present, all these transactions will take place, else it will return no records found. Now the role controller, surely we'll be having a demo with the IntelliJ, and the REST controller, public class role controller, which we have created the new controller. I'm using the auto-wired for role service. I'm auto-wiring it. We are having a post mapping where role bar create. I am calling the add role method from the role service, and here delete mapping. This is a mapping for delete we are using. It takes in ID. You can see ID is defined the way ID is defined here. So the delete role will be using the annotation at path variable and long ID, which will be passed through the URL that is coming through. And I am calling the delete role method which we have defined before. Now coming to the tables, see, these are the three tables as shown before. that are getting created. Now coming to the tables that are getting created, we are having three tables here: t underscore role, t underscore role underscore users, and t underscore user. If you look at t underscore user, this is the table that we are having. And if you are looking at t underscore role, this is the table we are having. And role underscore user, you can see the role ID and the user's ID are mapped here. Now the requirement is I have a role admin in which I have to create two new users of first name hello and last name world. Here another user of first name hello world and last name good morning. So this is a JSON object which I will be sending with the request body through Postman. So this is how I am defining it. Now let us look at what has changed in the code, what has changed from the previous demonstration. A new role entity will be created, a role repository will be created, and role service with two methods, add role and delete role. The role controller with delete role with delete mapping, create role with post mapping. I made a small change to the previous code in the user entity. So now let us open IntelliJ. Now this is the role entity which we are talking before. At entity, a table name is equal to t underscore role, public class role, the ID with generation type dot identity, and here comes the main thing. We define a one-to-many relation here with the target entity and user.class. And see, we are having the private list. We are defining the list of users that comes under a specified role. So this is how the role entity is created. Now let us go to the role repository. I just created a method which we are not using in this demonstration. Optional role, find by name. You give the name of the role, it returns an optional role, and you can get the role from it using the get method. Now coming to role service, we were talking of two methods, which is add role and delete role. You can see I'm creating a new role, setting name, setting description, setting the user, and saving the role. And if the saved role is present, I am returning the role is created with the users. Otherwise, fail to create specified role. Now deleting a role, you can see here I am using the find by ID method. If it is present, I am deleting it. If it is not present, I am returning no records found. Once deleted, cross-checking it again that whether it is getting deleted. If it is present, I am returning failed to delete the specified record, else I am returning successfully deleted specified record. Now coming on to role service, here we are using the auto-white keyword which I am going to remove, and I am using constructor based dependency injection. I am creating a constructor. In the previous versions we had to use the auto-white keyword here, but now it is not necessary. You can go with the constructor with dependency injection without the auto-white keyword. Now I'll go to the role controller. Here again I am using the auto-white keyword. Let us remove it. We have the post mapping. I'll just expand it. We have the post mapping with role create. I am calling the add role method from the role service. Here I am calling the delete role method from the role service. And see how I am passing the ID here. It is role, delete, flower brackets. Inside flower bracket I am sending the ID. And here the parameter is at path variable and using the long type of the ID as long. And that's how we are taking in the request. And I am calling the delete method with the delete role. Now let us run the application. Everything is working fine. Now let us open the browser and see. So we'll be having, let us refresh it. We're having three tables. We'll check for t underscore user. So we are having everything as shown before. T underscore role underscore user. Here we are having the role ID and the user's ID mapped. And here under T underscore role we are having the name and description with the ID. So Here everything is created perfectly. Now let us go to Postman. Let us send the request. Yeah, unfortunately we are getting an error. As expected, this was expected. We were expecting this result. So here now we are getting the error as, say, the transient instance before flushing com.notify.entity.user. So illegal state exception. So why we are getting this error is because we are not saving the user. Now let us see how we can rectify it. One way of rectifying it is to save the user. So what I'm doing is I'm using a for loop. I'm getting all the users from role using get I, and I'm doing a user repository dot save. So which is returning a saved user. I'm checking if it is present. If it is not present, it goes out. It returns fail creating user. So let us look into the code. You're getting many errors here. Now I'm adding a piece of code here with a for loop where I'm saving user repository.save, getting the user from the role.getUsers.get and I, which is index. I'm saving it and I'm cross-checking it by if not user repository.find by ID. If it is present, if it is not present, I'm sending failed creating user, else it continues as it is. So I think this will serve the purpose and the application is going to work. Let us rerun the application. Let us open Postman and let us send the request. Yeah, we are getting successfully created role and users. I'll do a refresh here. Both the users are created. We'll check on the mapping table. Here the mapping is perfect because we have one role with admin. So everything is working perfectly. Now I have a problem. What happens if the user gets saved and an exception is thrown after that? The role is never getting created. Let us simulate the situation. Let us throw an exception. Now here, let us throw an exception. I'm pasting a code here. If true, throw no runtime exception. So the code will execute from here, and once the users are saved, a runtime exception is thrown. So let's see what is going to happen. Let us send the request and see what will happen. You see 2 users are created. When we check on this, we don't have any roles. No mappings are found. So this is not something that should happen. Let's go back and correct it. We can do this by using the transaction annotation. Let us annotate by transactional. There are 2 transactional annotations. We have to go with org.springframework.transaction.annotation. Rerun the application. Now let us check on the database again, refresh it. Everything is clear. Let us send the request. We are getting an error here. Let us see what is happening. Before we were not having the role and there were 2 users present. Let's see if users are present right now. See, the entire transaction is rolled back if when the exception is thrown. So a transactional keyword can be used in such situations. Now the second way of rectifying things is using cascading. Cascading, when we perform an action on the target entity, the same action will be applied to the associated entities. We are having many types: persist, merge, refresh, remove, and detach. I have given the definitions here, but now we are going to deal with persist and all. I'll show you the demonstration of persist and cascade type dot all. Let us go to IntelliJ. Let us remove all this code. And we don't need the transaction keyword. Now, only thing that we are going to do is I go to the role entity. Here, cascade equal to, I'm using cascade type dot persist. We'll be using all also. Here, this is the only thing I'm doing. See, go back to the role service. I removed the entire for loop, remove the transaction keyword and everything. Nothing to do with the transaction keyword, but I removed the entire for loop and there is no code to save the user here. So I am running the application. Let us cross check on the database, refresh it. Yeah, everything is clean, so we don't have to worry about it. Now let us go back to Postman, send in the query. If everything is working fine, we should have two users, admin, the role admin and the mapping tables completely mapped. So let us see. Here the role as admin. We have both the users in place and the mapping is perfect. So with the cascade type all dot persist, everything is working fine. Let me check. You're using persist, everything is working fine. Let us use all. No data. All data has been removed. Go back to Postman and send the request. Again, we are getting the same result. We will check on the tables. So here everything is working fine. We have both the users, mapping is ready and the role created. Now let us go to Postman and see there is a delete this thing. We are going to delete one role, that is admin, from there, and let us see what is going to happen. When we send in the query, the record is deleted. Go back to the tables. We'll check on t underscore role. We'll see that the role is deleted. We'll check on the mapping table. Mapping is gone and both the records are deleted. We don't have any users over here. Now let us go back to IntelliJ. Let us create a different situation. I'm changing the cascade type to persist. I created role and user. We'll cross check on that. Two users. The mapping table is okay. Now let us delete the role admin. See, now we have two users and the role here is deleted. Mappings are deleted. And there are two users remaining, which is something we don't want that to happen. In such cases, what we can do is we'll go to IntelliJ. There's something called Orphan Removal. By default, it is false. Let us turn it to true. Cascade type.persist and Orphan Removal is true. Right now, we were getting, when we delete the role was deleted, the mappings were deleted, but the users were not deleted. And they were like orphans. Now we are turned on the orphan removal is equal to true, and let's see what's going to happen. Let's go to Postman, create the role and users, check on the database, refresh it. The role admin is there. The mappings are there. And we find two users. So what we want is when we are going to delete the role, there should not be any users. All associated users having the role admin should be deleted. We are using orphan removal equal to true. Now let us send the query. We'll take the delete one. We'll send in the query. We get a message, successfully deleted. And let's go to the database. Yeah, we don't find any records. And the role is deleted. And the role 2 is deleted. Let's check on the mapping table. Surely it should also be deleted. Now this is called orphan removal. When you want to remove a child entity, when the parent entity is removed, we can use orphan removal. JPA specification provides orphan removal for such cases. Here, what is happening is Hibernate removes the users associated with the role when the role is removed. Now the takeaways, we are concluding this session. The takeaways are, we spoke about one-to-many relations unidirectional. The cascade types, we went on to explore persist, cascade type.persist and cascade type.all. Constructor based dependency injection, where we remove the auto-void keyword and use constructors for dependency injection. And in the CRUD operations, we spoke about the create in the previous video. Now we did talk about delete operation and the orphan removal, which within conjunction with the delete operation, we talked about orphan removal. A transaction, when we wanted to roll back the transaction, when something unwanted happens in between the transaction. So we have covered all this. You can find the source code on GitHub. I given the link here. You can find it on the description also. And in the next video, we'll be talking about one-to-many relations with bidirectional relations, which is comparatively simple once you have gone through this video.